Yo, what's up, dogs? I am back once again with another movie review, and this time we are going to talk about Opus, a new A24 joint. And before I do, I just want to point out to y'all that I'm going to be spoiling this movie. I'm going to try my best not to spoil it, and I'm going to hold back as best as I can. But I gotta warn you because I know I'm going to slip up, and there you go. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. So let's get started with the review. Now, off the hop, I want to say that this movie has a lot of similar, I want to say tones and vibe in a sense to like Midsummer in the Menu, where you follow this character named Ariel, who's this writer and she's kind of insignificant in her job. She kind of gets overlooked to write certain articles and stuff like that, but she has good ideas and things of that sort. But no one really pays her any attention and expects much out of her. And by the way, Ariel's played by Ayo I can't pronounce that last name. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna learn it because I really like this actress, and that's kind of I'm just disrespecting her last name like that, and probably her first name as well. But her character comes across like that, and she's even described as that by her boyfriend, who kind of just says to her that she's very middle of the road and kind of just mid in a sense. And he means in such a way that she has never lived a life of hardship, and she's also never lived a glamorous life either, but she's lived a very middle of the road life, which is very safe. And because of that, her writing doesn't come across as anything that has any meaning behind it because she hasn't had any lived experiences. And so her writing just comes across as bland and no experience. So, what happens to her and various other characters in this movie? She gets an invitation to go to the grand release of a brand new album by Moretti, who's played by John Malkovich. And Moretti hasn't dropped an album in 30 plus years, right? Or I think it's like 30 years or something like that. It's been a long time. Let's even say 10. And so she gets to go along with her boss. And that's the thing with this movie, right? We have a very strong uh, duo of a cast here with John Malkovich and Ao. And I really liked watching both of them perform in this movie. And John Malkovich literally steals the show. Every single scene he's on, he's just destroying it. And it's hilarious. Like, he's just hilarious in general. There's a couple scenes where he is the one scene where he's debuting one of his newest singles and he's singing it and dancing and it's weird. And I really enjoyed it. But that's the thing with John Malkovich in this movie. It's a lot of weird because as you follow Ariel and the other crew, and I kind of just put that down as everyone else because the rest of the cast is there, but I don't feel like they're really being utilized as well as they should be. And that's just because like they're there for reasons other than driving the story along because you're really following Ariel and Moretti. And so with the other cast, these all these people get an invite to Moretti's album release party, right? And there's Sierra, who's a TV host, who's played by Juliette Lewis. There is Stan, who's the magazine and boss of Ariel. I forget what magazine he writes, but he's the guy who is the lead editor and stuff like that. And he's played by Murray Bartlett. We have Bianca Tyson, who's played by Melissa Chambers, and she's a paparazzi person, so she's taken a lot of various pictures of Moretti. We have Emily Katz, who's an influencer, played by Stephanie Shuganami. And I'm not actually too sure why she's even here, other than to make the show, the movie a little bit more modern to the younger crowd. That would be like, oh, an influencer must have been talking about Moretti, okay? And then there's Mark Silverstein, or sorry, Sivertstein, and he plays Bill Lotto. And I honestly forget what his role is in this movie, like because each one of them represents a certain media conglomerate, but I actually forget what his is. And I just want to say that all these characters that are here, and I've labeled them as everyone else, are the characters that have weird things that happen to them, i.e., die. And I want to point out that all the deaths, or yeah, all the deaths that does happen in this, and there's not a ton of them. They're very random and weird. and I wouldn't even call them death. It's just very underwhelming. You know what I'm saying? When I expect someone to die, I want to see something cool, and even if it's in an artsy way, the way that everything is handled here is very not cool. So as we're following Ariel around the Moretti compound, which I should mention, he has squirreled himself away in, I want to say, like Arizona, like wherever the Grand Canyon is, right? Like somewhere far away in the middle of nowhere. And he has started his own little cult over the last 30 years. And this cult like place, they're called Levelists. And their whole pursuit, I guess, is kind of like the the purity of art. Like they don't really go into exactly what they're all about. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the missed opportunities in this movie is there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and maybe they're answered and I just missed it, right? Like that could have happened. Obviously, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm perfect when I'm watching these movies, but I might have missed the reasoning, but or the reasoning of the leftists and what their goal is in this whole grand scheme of morality. But as the movie goes on, and I actually, before I go on, I want to mention this part here specifically is this cult has a lot of interesting, like there's indigenous actors in this cult, and there's indigenous people in this cult, and I thought that was quite refreshing. As someone who is part indigenous, you don't really get to see indigenous actors play crazy people. And the two that are in here, Amber Midthunder, she plays Billy. She's crazy. She doesn't talk. You never hear her say a word. It's all physical, it's all visual. And you're like, this is a crazy chick. She's going to kill you. And she's always stalking Ariel because that's her like concierge. And so whenever Ariel needs something on the compound, Belle will handle that and get it for her. But when shit goes tits up, Bella's going to kill her. And then you also have Tatanka Means, who plays Najee, and he's kind of like he's just another crazy dude. He talks, but he's also just a part of the cult. And there's other indigenous people a part of the cult too. And I just thought that was wild. Like that actually kind of made me go, "This is kind of cool. This is refreshing." Like that element is refreshing because I've never seen it. I've never seen indigenous actors being used as in a cult, and they're crazy and could kill you like that. Like it's just something I feel like I've never seen before. So I like that. And I just want to point out that when you're following the rest of this movie, the whole thing turns out to be a grand scheme of Morietti's, and he wants to kill all the people that he invited there, except for Ariel. He doesn't want to kill her, but he wants to kill everybody there and everybody in the cult, and he pretty much does. Yeah, he kills everybody and lets Ariel live. Ariel escapes and lives happily ever after. However, she writes a book about the incident, and that was his master plan, was to write a book and tell the world about what happened and tell them about the leftists, or sorry, the levelists, and get that message out there. That was his whole plan. It's such a weird ending of a plan, and you're kind of just like, you did all of that because like Moretti just literally loses his mind. You know what I'm saying? Like just from being in a cult out in the desert the whole time, and that's his thing. He wants his revenge. He gets his cult message out there, and they're spread out in the world, and it's weird. Yeah, so that's it for me. No, I just want to point out one thing before I do wrap this all up, that I really enjoyed the music in this movie. I just want to point out that Neil Rogers in The Dream wrote a lot of new songs for this movie. There's a great score as well that goes along with this movie, but the musical soundtrack that's in here, I really enjoyed, and the singles that are in here. Supposedly, Dina Simone is an actual song that is out there in the world, and they released it like a month early just to get hype around Opus. I didn't even know this existed. It didn't work. I would just like to point that out. Didn't work. So because no one came and went watched this movie, I think this movie only made $1 million in its opening weekend. Anyways, I would like to say that I like this movie. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great or special like I'm gonna buy it or anything like that. I probably will get it because it's an A24 movie and I'll put it in my A24 collection. But if I really was holding on to my money, I probably wouldn't even buy this movie, and I would tell you all just to stream it. You know, because we've already seen better versions of this movie, like Midsummer and The Menu. And on that note, my friends, that is it for me. So please drop a comment below. Tell me what you thought about Opus. Am I being too harsh? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to do this review thing, And yeah, leave a like, or sorry, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell because I'm always reviewing movies and movie trailers as well. And on that note, my friends, it is Monday night. I worked all day. I gotta get to sleep because I got a day shift in the morning. So whatever you're out there doing, don't work too hard because I'm gonna try not to tomorrow. And have a good night, everybody. Peace out. Bye.